Think Forward with Rose, the podcast where tradition meets transformation and new ideas redefine leadership, education, and the future of work. As an advocate for higher education leaders at every level, I'm passionate about creating conversations and spaces that empower and inspire. Today, I'm joined by the remarkable Dr. Tadzia Dennis, consultant, author, 2016 Faculty of the Year recipient at the University of Phoenix, and now Dean at the Arizona College of Nursing. With more than 20 years in higher education, Dr. T, as she likes to be called, has devoted her career to leadership, student success, and personal growth. Known for her servant leadership style, she is deeply committed to supporting students and helping them thrive on their educational journeys. Get ready for a thought-provoking conversation. Dr. T, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
I'm excited about our conversation today because we have spoke briefly before this podcast, and you've really inspired me with your leadership journey. I know in talking with you, there have been some true defining moments that have shaped your journey, not just through higher education, but just throughout your life. Would you share a couple of those with us, please?
Of course, of course. You and I had a great conversation, and I talked to you a little bit about my higher education and the love that I have for higher education and how I kind of got to this space. You know, as a individual going into college right out of high school, it was an opportunity for me, and I wanted to be the next Oprah. Like, I was there, I look like her, I reflect her, I sound like her, all of those great things. And I became a communications major at Northern Arizona University. Unfortunately, I could not get past the basic COM 100 course, and it was extremely difficult for me to move forward when I couldn't get past the basic course
I
of the
hear
course.
you. Wow, I hear you.
And so I tried and tried a couple of times and dropped it a couple of times, and realized that maybe that was not the space I needed to be in. In the process of that, I also dropped my GPA. You know, I attended more football games and basketball games and parties than I did class, which identified for me that maybe it wasn't the right time for me to be in this space. My dad was paying for me to go to college out of pocket, and I left for a few years. I left with a 1.75 GPA on academic probation. And my mom identified that because, you know, that was a time when grade reports were sent. And she said, "What is this? This is interesting here." And I said, "Oh, I don't know. Anything I could come up with at that time." But I left and went and I got married and had a child, came back after my brother passed, and identified how important my education was. And so I went through the steps of getting back. I talked to all the higher ups. I had to write letters. I had to beg them essentially to get me back into school. They gave me one semester. They said, "You got one semester to make it right." No longer did I sit in the back of the classroom. No longer did I not ask the stupid questions that I thought were stupid or could have been stupid. I asked every question I thought of. And because of that, I got a 4.0. And that was a defining moment in me and how much I identified my need for an education and my love for it. I was a hotel restaurant management major at that time. So I have my degree, my bachelor's of science in that area. I became a caterer for time, and that's my other job on the side. Realized it was a lot of work, a lot of time away from my baby and working a ton. So I went back and got the first master's in career technical education with an emphasis in K-12 administration. And second master's in educational leadership with an emphasis in higher ed community college. And then my PhD is in higher education administration. And all 5 of those degrees just identify how much I love being educated. I love educating and how important I believe it is.
That is such an amazing story. And I think what's so amazing about it is that your path was different and that it was challenged. And it required you to step away in order for you to step back and really appreciate the value of education, the value of learning. But I think it tapped into something that I think is one of your strengths, and that is your love of learning. I mean, 5 degrees, a PhD, you learn about things outside of education as a caterer. I mentioned you're an author. Talk a little bit about, because of these defining moments, because of your background and all the lessons you've learned along the way, how does this help you best relate to that student or that parent or that faculty member or anyone that finds themselves in your office?
Well, the thing about it is that I'm very much a God-loving, God-fearing woman and believe heavily in my faith. And I know that for a period of time, I was in this space where I was going through these different areas of higher education and these different stops and spots, from being faculty to being student affairs and working as an advisor, and then senior program coordinator, instructional designer. God put me in this space where I'm learning all of these different areas of higher education. And for a while I got frustrated. And I was like, you know what, God, I'm doing these things. I'm got this education, got this years of experience, and you got me here in these spaces. And as you and I had talked, I said I used to be called the bartender, because the bartender is the person where everybody comes to commiserate and to talk and say, these are my problems. You give great advice and they go on to get to great heights. And it's like, oh, but I'm still here behind the bar and everybody's kind of left me at this point in time. But now in the space that I am, I realize that God was purposing me and giving me all of those experiences so I can speak to all those different levels of individual, as a parent, as a student, as a struggling student, as a non-traditional student, a first generation student, as someone who is a leader, someone who is writing about higher education. I'm in the world now where I'm learning about AI because it's affecting my existence in so many different ways. And so I'm a lifelong learner as well. So, it just groomed me to be able to have those conversations and to speak with everyone about how education is so important. I talk a lot to individuals who never had what we call a higher education. They have high school diplomas or never finished high school. And I say, even what I call street education, world knowledge, is education, and it's huge and it's important.
Absolutely.
So
you mentioned not only AI, but there's a lot of other challenges that are going on right now that you are experiencing, and how people are coming to you with their struggles and with their challenges. And so, as the bartender, we'll go back to your analogy there. As the bartender, what strategies do you offer to those who come to you that really want to be successful, but they need to find their way through? And I know you probably say, well, give me a challenge and I can help. So let's use maybe technology, or a student who's really struggling like you were, or a parent who comes to you because they're concerned about their child. So picking one of those, as the bartender, how do you help them through that?
well, fortunately, in the role that I serve now as dean, I still live in that bartender space a lot of times. However, I have more resources in my hands than I ever have had. And what I did on the campus here, and the Phoenix campus where I am, is that I have a lot of people that I work with. And if you know me as a servant leader, I'm about fostering everybody and supporting everybody in being who they want to be. That means that the people that I work with, the people that I lead, they have goals just like our students have. Our students want to be nurses and save lives. The people that I work with have goals to be different areas as well. And so I'm all about serving and supporting and helping individuals get to where they want to be. So I know some people on this campus who knew a lot of people. And so what I did is I got together and we created what's called our community partners list. And in that, we offer connection with community partners, identifying them from what our student needs are. So we have lots of students who are parents, young parents, are becoming parents. And so we have a child care facility that works with our students that'll stay open late for them. We have students who, as life is happening, get in accidents in cars. We have a car dealer and a mechanic who will give great discounts. We just identified an apartment complex who will welcome our students and waive application fees, and who will help them with first month's rent. We have organizations that provide scholarships, that provide bus passes, food cards. I developed a food bank or a food giveaway here on our campus for those who are in need. We had a ton of students who need food boxes. And so I was like, let's do that here. Let's give them opportunity. And we invited community partners. So we work with St. Mary's Food Bank, and we work with Single Fathers Network. I mean, we are holistically supporting, because if I can't eat, if my kids don't have a place to live, school becomes on the back burner. School is nothing to me, right? But I still have this goal and this need and this urge to get to that goal of helping others as a nurse and being a lifesaver. So I'm torn in these places. So if I can help support them holistically and get them the basic needs taken care of, then we can support them also in getting their educational needs taken care of.
Oh, I love that. Such a balanced approach. Approaching a student as a person. You know, I started my career as an elementary school teacher, and there were so many resources available to our pre through sixth graders. That's where I spent about, 10, 15 years of my career. And I would think about, food available in the morning for those students who couldn't have breakfast, and then the lunch program that we had, the after school program that we had for those parents who were working. And it was lovely to be able to offer that kind of support. And then I find at the higher education level, what support, how do those resources kind of follow them for those students who really need them? And that's what I'm hearing you say, is that we've put the humanness back into this balanced approach to helping to educate these students we have. I always say a student is a student. Doesn't matter if you're 50 years old or you're 5 years old or anywhere in between. And so with this balanced approach, mind, body, heart, spirit, very holistic, as you have described, how do you balance both the empathy and the understanding for what students need, but also the accountability aspect of it?
Well, I do my very best to, one of the things that you'll hear me say, and my students will tell you, and the people I work with to say, Dr. T always says, attitude reflects leadership. And that came from Remember the Titans, the movie.
I was just thinking of that when you said that.
It's one of my favorite things, but it means so very much, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I tell people all the time is that I'm an accountable person, whereas I hold myself accountable. I'm a Virgo, Leo at the same time. I'm on the cusp of those things, but I always hold myself accountable. But in the process of that, I'm also going to hold others accountable. But I love people. I'm in the business of people. Mm-hmm. I'm serving, I'm supporting, I'm growing, I'm nurturing, I'm doing all of those things in higher education, right? My most precious commodity, my most precious, even though higher education is a business, whether for-profit or traditional, it's a business, but I'm in the business of people, and mm-hmm. I love people. And so what I do is I see people for who they are and for their diversities and for what they bring to the table. Yeah. And I love them for that. And I tell people all the time, I'm going to love you for who you are. Long as we're getting things done, we're moving forward, making things happen, meeting our goals, reaching new heights. But when we have opportunities, and if there's opportunity, that's what I call it, when it comes up, then we're going to have deeper level conversations, and I'm going to hold you accountable for the things that you've done or haven't done. So my students know that Dr. T is there, is got their back, is going to help and support them, and make sure they're moving forward to getting the grades they need to be successful to become the nurse that they want to be, or that they're going to the meetings or to clinicals or to whatever it is that they need to get to. I'm always there to have their back, but I'm also going to say, hey, you know what? You missed, and you got to hold yourself accountable. What are we going to do to make it right?
So in working with you, it's about building trust, but there's also a high level of transparency that leads to the accountability piece. That's what I hear you talking about. Does that seem accurate?
That's correct.
So I'm a new student. I come on campus, and I'm I'm not sure what to do and where to go. And then I hear about you. And so I walk into your office. I'm a little lost. I'm a little scared. I've not had a lot of trusting relationships in the past. Maybe I haven't done well, and I know you can relate to this. How do you begin to build that trust, to approach that student as a student and help them to want to engage?
That's a scenario I've actually had. I had a student who was very set aside, felt very set aside.
Yeah.
Couldn't trust anybody because those relationships had been broken. Everything from significant others through school personnel to family, all of
Yeah.
those things. And my conversation is not about school. We don't start talking about school. I know you and you're here because of school. School is school, right? Curriculum's not changing. School campus isn't changing. School is school. It's here. I want to know who you are. Tell me about your kids. Tell me about what you do for a living. How are you feeling today? Do you like coffee? When I have my orientation with students, I tell students we have to have deeper level conversations sometimes on the hard things, and you'll come to my office and you get scared. That's fear. But I would rather talk about shoes because I'm a shoe person. So I'll come in and I'm like, do you like shoes? Because I like shoes. My favorite holiday is Halloween. What's yours? We're going to meet as people first because, like I said, school takes a back burner to things if we don't have trust relationships and we're not handling the basics of who we are. And the only way for me to do that is to get to know you as a person. I taught ethnic studies and cultural diversity for many, many years. And I would tell students, and I would tell them that there's two different types of diversity. So you've got your primary and your secondary. Your primary is the face value of what you see of me, in Black, female, plus size. You can see those things. If I had my kids, you'd know that I was a mom. If not, it's a variable. But you don't know my secondary diversities until you have a conversation with me, until you realize that I've lost a son before, till you realize that I had a 1.75 GPA, till we have that conversation, we get a deeper level space, but then you know me enough to know that you can trust me and I can trust you because I care about you as a person, not just as a student.
Yeah. I didn't know that about you in losing a son.
Mhm.
And as a parent, as a mother of both a daughter and a son, my heart goes out to you. I can't imagine what that must have been like for you. Thinking about how you have recovered and moved forward with that, even though your son is with you every single day. How do you keep moving forward with these challenges, with the heavy burdens of what your students are going through, with, your own personal life and everything that you're doing? You have a lot that's going on. And I'm sure there's days that you feel stressed or worn out. There's days you feel joyful and engaged, and others where it's just kind of vanilla, so to speak, middle of the road. How do you get back engaged? And then how do you pick yourself up sometimes?
That's a great question. And I get very tired some days. And we were actually having a conversation about it. I'm an extroverted person, whereas I'm all about people. I'm all about talking and having a good time and helping in every way that I can and pouring out. And it's hard to pour out from an empty cup.
Mm-hmm.
So, to fulfill myself a lot of times, and what I'll do is after I've extroverted all day, after I've peopled all day and helped all day, I go home and I'm very silent and very still.
Yeah.
I'm not about going to hang out or those types of things. Like I'll get home, and if you see on my back wall over here, you'll see there's a lot of MASH. So MASH is one of my favorite shows, and it's a show that my son and I, he used to could quote every episode. He'd know everything because I raised him watching MASH. And so it's us, him still being with me in that, but I'll put it on in the background because I know it. So there's something always there kind of moving, but otherwise I'm just silent and I'm still just to receive that space, to receive what God's messages are for me, to just be silent. As a caterer, I love to cook. And so in the kitchen is my creative space where I can really be creative. So I'll just come up with different recipes and ideas and different things. And I'm like, oh, this would work with this. And this, I know flavors pretty well. So I'll spend time doing that. Whereas I'm not, sometimes going out with friends or, hanging out and those types of things is great. But I just sometimes need to pour back into me and just let God feed me with his message and his word and his peace. And then I get in my creative space and that builds me back up.
So many leaders that I coach, that I help develop, have a real difficult time tapping into their purpose, tapping into what actually provides meaning, not just to their life, but to the work that they do. How do they find this alignment? I spend a lot of time coaching leaders on really that alignment. And I find that, there's a lot of leaders that want to use the word balance. And I'm not a believer in balance because I don't think getting to 50-50 is good enough for us. I need to be 100% in, or at least close to that, to what I'm doing, whether it's reflecting and being quiet, being on my own, having some of that insight learning time, or it's being engaged with a program or a client or something like that. And so you've learned these skills along the way, but I'm sure you've had some role models that you've really admired, you've looked up to, or you've said, they've got something that I want. Or maybe you've had a coach. Who has helped you get to this space?
That when we talk about purpose, and I had a conversation recently about purpose with another individual who I consult with, and I was gifted my purpose, and God gave me my purpose, and my conversation is that you get busy, and I'm busy. All the people, you're so busy, but I'm busy doing what I love and I know I'm supposed to be doing, and so it's not a fight. It's not I'm having to push my way through or fight through it, but I'm busy through the goodness of it and the love I have for it and the time I spend with it. I have a couple of mentors in my life who, you always mentor up. So most of them are higher level senior deans and presidents. The research that I did for my dissertation was on the perceived barriers of African American women attaining leadership positions. And it was identified in that as an African American woman in leadership, that white males are one of our biggest supporters. And where I am right now, our campus president is a white male, and man, he feeds into me and pours into me tremendously and educates me. He's been in higher education as long as I have. He's had some roles that I have yet to get to, and the roles that I strive for. So he supports me tremendously. God always says you should have wise counsel, but wise counsel is a small group of individuals who can make a huge difference in your life. And I have a mentor from another organization, another university I worked with, who is dean over 2 colleges, and she feeds into me. She's in Texas. I have one that's in Chicago, who is an assistant vice president, and she is, just pours into and sees me. And that's the thing, is that they see me for who I am, the way I see my students and the people that I lead. They see me and they see where I should go. They give me the tough love sometimes. Iron sharpens iron, as they say. Need to do this and do that, which I appreciate every bit of it. But I always mentor up and with people who know how to help me get to where I want to be.
I see a remarkable advocate for how to lead just as a human. And I, for one, if I was at your college, a nursing student, I would feel very, very fortunate to be led by you, to be in your presence, but to be, just feeling the warmth, feeling hugged by you, but also knowing that, I have to do my part as well. And I think that's really, really important for us as leaders in any industry. How do we, I'm an Arizona Cardinal fan, I will say that, and I'm sure there's a lot of people now that are going to turn this off because they're other fans. And one of our coaches, Bruce Arians, used to say, you got to hug them and you got to love them up, but you also have to make sure they're held accountable. And it's something that I remember when I am working with clients along the way, that, it's supporting them, but also moving them forward. And so as you think about your role as the Dean of Nursing and what's coming next, what are you looking forward to? What should we expect in higher education?
Um, in the role that I'm in now, and I'm Dean of General Education. And so I look at higher education and an expert in higher education, whereas I look and see the overall picture of things.
Mm-hmm.
And AI is something that is so in our face right now. Whereas we
Right.
knew plagiarism, we knew how to kind of handle it, we knew what to look forward to. We had systems that would identify it for us and those types of things. However, with this new opportunity,
Yeah.
it's causing a lot of um, I don't want to say heartache, but it's a lot for us to pay attention to. I was on the
Mm-hmm.
task force to help create the policy for us here in our system, and I just did some research, just submitted for publication some research on AI, and it's not going anywhere, so we can't do anything about it, right? So we
Right.
have to learn how to live in this space with it. And so
Mm-hmm.
in higher education, it is one of the biggest conversations that we're having right now because it is affecting every bit of us. Everything from test questions with big testing banks like the NCLEX or MCATs or any of those GMAT, those things, to writing papers and to submitting discussion board posts. I mean, it's affecting every bit of everything. And like I keep type in my Outlook, and it's going to start giving me suggestions and finishing my sentence.
Right.
So it is a huge conversation that we're having right now that is affecting every bit of us, and everybody's just trying to learn how to navigate the space. And as many higher education schools there are, we're still a close knit community in that we still face the same issues and the same things. Retention is always on everybody's mind. How do I keep them? How do I save them? How do I get them to the goal of where they want to be? Um, that's one of the things right now we're dealing with DEI issues and about diversity and equity and inclusion. Like, can we still do that? Can we not? Is it bad? How do we do it and keep it going? I mean, those are conversations, and AI has become one of those big conversations that we're all having as a
Yeah.
higher education family. Is how do we deal with it and work through it?
There are so many challenges that you just talked about, from DEI to retention, enrollment, the finances, what's happening to our budgets right now, as well as the new technologies, the emerging, and what's going to come next. So many changes, so many challenges. I, for one, feel really inspired knowing that you're part of the conversation, that you recognize that you don't have all of the answers, and that's not what we're designed to do, but we do have the questions, and we're coming to the table and wanting to have these conversations that are collaborative, that are open, that are thought-provoking, that are challenging. That's what this podcast is designed to do. It's to bring out, to give people a voice, and to say, I don't have the answers, and I don't want to feel bad about not having the answers, or wrong, or incompetent. But I want to be part of the conversation because I bring a unique set of skills and perspective and experience and background. And that's what I hear from you. And I'm so inspired by your leadership, and know that your nursing students are in such great hands right here in my home state. So I'm really happy that we've had this conversation. So as we wrap up, I want to do this lightning round. It's something that I'm starting, and so it's going to be called this rapid fire round. That's fun and insightful. Until I can think of another name of what I want to call it, that's what we're going to call it. And so it's just the first thing that comes to your mind as we get ready to wrap up. So you mentioned that you like shoes. Favorite pair of shoes?
Boots.
One book every leader should read.
Affirmations of a CEO on the Move.
Okay, now I know you're an author. Do you want a little plug there?
Yes, it is a collaborative effort from leaders, and it's a journal as well as affirmations on how to keep you moving forward each and every day.
And where can people find this book?
Amazon.
Absolutely. Best piece of leadership advice you've ever been given?
Attitude reflects leadership.
A daily practice that really keeps you grounded?
I start my day with prayer. First thing.
Okay. How do you recharge after a long day?
I sit in peace and watch MASH.
And if you could describe your leadership style, kind of taking it further than servant leadership, what would it be?
Do unto others as you wish done unto you.
Dr. T, be well.
Thank you so much. Same to you.